Welcome back to this series, as I try to find my personal favorite, top 5 mechanically and narratively dense creatures of each level. As we climb the ladder of more challenging monsters, what makes a creature stand out above the rest is subjective to the GM and the setting. I strive to find the entities that impact far beyond the creature's difficulty compared to the player's level, whether you are level 5, 10, 15, or even 20. The goal is to find things that could still find relevance in your story. And amongst the 150 level 1 creatures, it took some time to truly narrow down my list. So sit back and enjoy my top 5 level 1 creatures. In 5th place, we have a construct swarm known as the Phalanx of Phalanges. Aside from having a fun name to say, this monster, or rather this swarm of toe and finger bones, are fairly standard for a swarm-traded creature. They have a slew of immunities and a number of resistances and several weaknesses that are common for the traits this creature type possesses. But the ability that caught my eye that this creature has that is applicable at any level is called Predetermined Path. It reads, a Phalanx of Phalanges knows a single path on even ground no longer than 100 feet, as determined by its creator. The Phalanx of Phalanges makes no actions other than moving along this path or making a countless digits attack against creatures in its way. If impeded on this path, or if it takes damage, the Phalanx of Phalanges is unbound from its path and is permanently berserk, attacking nearby creatures to the best of its ability. This ability could easily be given to any creature with the Mindless trait, as it creates a patrol route that, should anything get in their way, sends the creature into said berserking state. This includes undead, oozes, and plenty of constructs that could be given this ability. Some other swarms as well, depending on the setting, like an evil druid who uses animals as security measures in their forest. It just reminds me of the games I used to play a lot of that had patrolling foes during a stealth mission, and in the proper setting and environment, you can accomplish a lot with this one ability. So while the Phalanx of Phalanges is limited to low-level encounters, its ability could be scaled to any level, and that is why this creature makes it to 5th place. Moving on to 4th place, we find the Sylvanchi, a celestial kitty. These creatures are curious yet cautious beings that love to explore the material plane. Due to this, they have the ability Cat's Curiosity, which makes them trained in every skill, which allows them to accomplish whatever it is that would let them state their interests. They also have a few spells that help them live up to their purpose, including Gaseous Form, Know Direction, Speak with Animals, and more, to which this being has many languages under its belt, including Common, Celestial, Draconic, and Infernal. The cherry on top to this being is that it has an ability called Cat's Grace, which lets its gaseous form retain the look of being a kitty, which I think is flavorful and fun. But what got it to 4th place specifically? Well, aside from being a narrative aid for the party who could assist them in accomplishing a goal, their purpose is to be Nirvana's eyes and ears on the mortal world, and should they run into danger, they escape from harm and they report back to their superiors for help. The Sylvanchi's superior's lowest creature level is 6, and can span all the way up to level 20. If an evil party messes with one of these and it manages to escape, run. Run far and run fast, because something they are likely ill-prepared for is coming, and it will not let evil run rampant in the world for long. Finally, it could also be fun to have a Nephilim ASMR character who has a familiar, which is a Sylvanchi, that runs to the player for help when it finds trouble. I, as a GM, would absolutely let players take something far more interesting as a familiar than the standard list, so long as it feels appropriate for their character or the setting, at the cost of their familiar traits being locked in. Why not let your own curiosity roam a little, and take us to someplace more exotic? A location to where our third place entry would likely be found, the coral capuchin. This sea monkey is a tiny creature that also makes for a fantastic familiar option once again. They have some understanding and usage of common as a language, and have a wide array of mobility options: climbing, flying, swimming, and ground movement. But what gets these monkeys to third place, especially over the Sylvanshi, as a great level 1 creature and possibly even a familiar? Well, for starters, these little buggers are curious scavengers and will dive into the water and search for sunken treasure, which they could bring back to their master or family. But they could also very well keep their findings for themselves, creating their own personal treasure hoard of baubles and trinkets. A veritable treasure trove for the GM to possibly put something important in or make entertaining, like a tiny personal dragon. They could also steal crafting supplies, spell components, and other things important for a character to accomplish a goal. Their curious nature means that they find the things a person may use a lot as a token of who that person is, and desire it for their own hoard. The coral capuchin is also semi-aquatic, as in they must submerge themselves every couple of hours or start to take a consistent 1d6 damage every hour from drying out. But they can also pass on this ability to others through a curse and a blessing that, if a coral capuchin bites someone, that person must make a fortitude save. If you fail, which you can choose to on your own volition, you gain double your character's breath duration at the cost of taking damage if you leave the water every 10 minutes. It's incredibly easy to get rid of too, which is to fully immerse yourself in water and make the fortitude save again, which immediately cleanses the ailment. This bite could save a PC when exploring underwater, or if they fall off of a boat, giving the rest of the party a time to act decisively. One could argue the kitty has more going for it than the monkey, but they are both fantastic familiar options and narrative choices that a GM could have fun with. Breaking away from the familiar options, we find an odd denizen of the Maelstrom, the second place creature known as the Void Worm. These things are honestly too damn cute. I will try not to gush about them too heavily, but they are enamored by the slightest changes of things, and they lack all forms of object permanence. While the Maelstrom is a veritable feast on the eyes to view all things chaotic, if a void worm makes it to the material plane, they will float and watch a lake, tree, decaying bodies, anything really, and absolutely lose it the second that thing changes even the tiniest of bits. A leaf changing colors? Do a little dance in excitement. A raindrop hit a puddle, freak out, then go back to watching the puddle. But getting into their abilities and kit, they are completely immune to polymorph spells unless it is willing, while also being able to take on the form of any tiny animal they want for a single action. If it is blinded or deafened, it auto-recovers at the end of its next turn, and it has Fast Healing 1 to really sell this effect. They have a myriad of spells that help them remain safe, including a never-ending freedom of movement spell that makes them incredibly slippery, and an ability called Protean Anatomy, means that if they take any damage from a source of acid, electricity, or sonic damage, they gain resistance to that damage type for an hour, or until it takes damage from another of those three. And finally, it has Entropy Sense of 30 feet, which means you basically cannot hide from this thing unless you are protected from divination or have a spell that grants non-detection. Being a chaotic neutral creature, it's not really aggressive unless the party harms it right away. It's this eternally curious flying snake that may dance around the party with delight as it views its reflection off of armor, or try to eat the hair of a player character with a 1,000-yard stare. Void worms are colorful, fun, playful, and wildly chaotic things that, in the Maelstrom, could have up to 20 in a cluster, meaning you have an excuse to make these things into a swarm creature as well that could morph and do all kinds of really weird stuff with. In the end, I just really love these things, and I am slightly biased and place it in second place when it maybe could have been in fourth or fifth. But I'll let you be the judge of that. And finally, in first place, we have the ever-common Devilish Imp. The Imp is a fairly straightforward monster. It has a standard attack with some interesting damage types, including Venom, which can be a real nuisance. It has a few spells which it can cast innately, including Invisibility and Charm, and it can also change shape like the Sylvanchi and Voidworm, but this change shape isn't just for camouflage, but also combat use. It also has consistent decent healing at least once per round, gaining 1d6 hit points with no drawbacks or delays, giving this creature a solid, great third action option. But what gets it to first place is the ability Infernal Temptation. This ability is great for PCs from level 1 to 20. Once per day, the Imp can make an offer to any non-fiend within 15 feet, giving any one creature who takes the offer advantage on an attack or saving throw for the next hour. The price? If that PC dies in that hour, the Imp gets their soul. That soul is sent to Hell, where it is bound for eternity unless someone uses a wish spell or something of equivalent nature. Got a long campaign setting? The party can meet an Imp early on that constantly pesters the party and tempts them with the offer, over and over and over again. One day, the Imp will succeed, and a PC's soul could be what it takes to raise the Imp's status and rank within the Hells. The Imp could be a messenger for a greater demon that the Imp wishes to usurp, or a patron to the party's witch. They could even be their own agent, who has grandiose plans and follows the party knowing that one day they can make a bargain with them. Give the Imp a few more levels and a satchel like a mail delivery person that is full of scrolls of varying spell types, and then offer to give an enchantment or even resurrection at the cost of a soul down the line.
I'll revive your ally, but one of you must make a pact with me, or else I'll let you wallow in misery.
And with that, we have my top 5 level 1 creatures. Would you change the order? Would you add something else that maybe I overlooked? Leave a comment down below if you think I missed something, as there was 150 level 1 creatures I had to sift through to find the best of the best. I had a few runner-ups, like at least one of the elemental scamps, once called Meppets, and a few other beings. But for now, thank you all for watching the video to the end, and until next time, may the dice be in your favor.